YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with Week 3 score predictions, predicting the score of every game all year long here. And in a way, these are picks against the spread. We'll take a look at the lines on each game here. And then we do have our locks of the week, which games I actually think you should put money on, but those are on the Patreon, patreon.com/thegoathouse, link in the description. Usually put those up every Wednesday night. Plenty more there. We'll talk about that in a second. But score predictions for Week 3. We also have straight up picks. We have power rankings. We have plenty more videos, always adding more. So please subscribe. You won't regret it. Help us get to 60K. That'd be much appreciated. Follow that Twitter. Always tweeting every day about the NFL and during live games. Thursday night's coming up. We'll be active during that game. So you're going to want to follow that. There's a link in the description and comments. We have an Instagram podcast as well. But yeah, let's talk about that Patreon real quick here. We got bunch of bonus content on there. I talked about my locks of the week. We did very well last week, so excited about this week here. Junior score predictions. So you see my predictions right here in this video. Juniors on the Patreon every single week. I got my college football score predictions for top 25 games. Updated playoff predictions will start in the near future, and then we'll update those every step of the way like we did last year. Bonus content, Discord access, much more. Link in the description. Check it out. A lot of content there. But to the first game here, Thursday night football, Dolphins versus the Jags. I have the Jags winning this game in a tight one. So what I do here is predict the score, and then I take a look at the line, plug it in there. So it is the Dolphins +3 at the Jaguars. That's how all the graphics work here. So Dolphins +3 at Jaguars. I do have the Jaguars, who are favored by 3, winning by 3, it happens to be. So, yeah, I'd agree with them putting that line at 3. I got the Jaguars taking care of business here at home. I like this offense right now. We'll see if it keeps up. You know, I think why this offense is maybe a little more surprising, why it's a little better than expected, is perhaps because, yeah, I guess it's pretty tough to game plan against. No one really knew what to expect. It's very fast. It's a quick offense. I think they get Laviska Shenault going in this game. They kind of have been getting them going there. I love that. I love Shenault out of Colorado, of course. And, you can hand him the ball. You can throw him the ball. Basically a receiver, running back in one. I think he'll be pretty active in this game. Just kind of a hunch feeling there. But, yeah, I think that small ball will be too much for the Dolphins. It's hard to get a pass rush on the Jaguars offense because how quick it is there. And that'll be tough. I know Byron Jones a little injured there, so I think he'll be out. We'll see. But the Dolphins offense got going against the Bills there last week, so that was impressive. So I think this can stay close for that reason. I think it'll be mostly offense here. A lot of clock draining though. But I have the Jaguars taking care of business here at home on Thursday night. But this should be a good game. We're going to see if the Jaguars offense can keep up. We're going to see if if Fitzpatrick can keep his job here. But I do have the Jaguars by 3. Next game, maybe a little bold here. I got the Falcons putting up 30 points on what I think is a very solid defense, Chicago Bears. I think it can be better than it has been. I think they were lights out in the first half against the Giants. All you have to do is get pressure on Daniel Jones, and that will really throw him off. That's what we saw in the first half. The Bears, it was good to see Robert Quinn back for them, and that was a factor. He could be a factor, of course, him and Khalil Mack in this game. I just really like this Falcons offense. You look at the first 2 weeks, and they're at towards the top of the NFL in points per game in total offense, and you can go, well, they're 0-2, but you look at who they played. I did say before the season the Falcons have the hardest schedule in football, and that might just be the case. They played the Seattle Seahawks, who have one of the best offenses and a contender, and the Cowboys, one of the better offense and potentially a contender. And those teams are just outscoring them, plain and simple. Falcons, very good offense, elite offensive play, just getting outscored. The Bears don't really have that offense. I think this offense can move the ball. 24 points does seem like a lot for the Bears, but can they keep up? That is the question. I do think the Falcons have one of the worst defenses in football, and that's why I have the Bears scoring 24, which is a pretty good amount for them. But yeah, can they keep up? Can they keep up? It's a big game for Trubisky. Can he put together a full game? I think Montgomery plays pretty well in this game. Maybe they can get Allen Robinson going again. A little quiet last week. Not, I think a lot kind of being brought up after the whole contract extension, or that he wants to be traded nonsense or whatever that is. But I like that they got Darnell Mooney going. So some upside of this Bears team. But it's really, you can't really expect their offense to put up more points than this. So it's really on their defense. A lot on their defense right now. Teams have been able to move the ball on the Bears defense more than expected, but it's only been 2 weeks. Maybe they can get in their groove now. But I like the Falcons offense in this one. Not as much of a tough task for their defense. Not even really close compared to the last 2 weeks. And the Falcons are favored. So it's Bears plus 3.5 at Atlanta. But I got the Falcons take care of business by 6 points here. That could be a good one, though. That could definitely be a good game there. Offense versus defense. And then we got Rams and Bills. I got somewhat low scoring here. I got the Rams getting 20. I got the Bills scoring 24. It's Rams plus 2 at Buffalo. I've been super impressed with this Rams team here. Very, very impressed with this Rams team. And they definitely can win this game. But I like the matchup for the Bills. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing if Tremaine Edmonds, Matt Milano playing. I mainly need Tremaine Edmonds to play in this game because I think he's that key to that defense. The Dolphins score a little more points. We're able to move the ball a little more than maybe a lot of us expected. But that's because I think mainly because those two linebackers, but mainly Tremaine Edmonds. I think he's that good. So I think he'll play in this game. But I think the difference here and what could be the game-changing moments here are interior pressure. And the Rams have it with Aaron Donald. I think the Bills have it with a couple of rotation guys there, quite a few guys there. Ed Oliver could be taken off here anytime. And I think that's the difference. And I like Josh Allen's escapability, I guess. The ability to move outside the pocket, avoid that. It feels like it's maybe easier said than done. Really only has to avoid Aaron Donald here. And I think he can make those plays on the run. Again, like last week, but a little tougher defense this week than the last couple weeks, that's for sure. We've only seen the Bills against the Jets and the Dolphins, so a little different challenge here. But Jared Goff, loved the way he's been playing. I really, in general, the Rams team entirely have been loving the way they've been playing. But Jared Goff could struggle a little bit under pressure. I think that's the key. I think the Bills get some pressure, and I think both secondaries can have a pretty solid game as well. So I got the Bills taking care of business at home here. I think being home is a factor in this game, just being used to where you're playing and not having to travel, things like that. I know crowd isn't a huge factor this year, but things like that definitely matter. Being home still matters. So the Bills win by 4. We'll see if those guys I mentioned are playing it, are healthy. I think they will be. So we will see here. That should be a great game. A lot of great games this week. Washington football team at the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are favored by 7 here, so it's Washington plus 7 in Cleveland. And I have a 5-point victory for the Browns, 28-23. It's a tough one to kind of figure out the matchup differences here because you kind of go back and forth on them. We've seen the Browns in the past, last year, struggle, mainly Baker, struggle under pressure. Offensive line was a mess. Pressure got to him, couldn't be himself, couldn't play his game. And they kind of fixed the offensive line this year. How much did they fix it by? It looks like kind of by a lot looking at last week against the Bengals because those guys were kind of beat up. They were missing Conklin, actually, and they still gave Baker all the time in the world. But then I look at the Bengals. They don't really have too much of pass rush, especially on the edge, and Geno Atkins was out on the inside. A much, much different task this week against the Washington football team and their front seven. So they will get after them. But I think the difference mainly isn't really the offensive line. I think it's more the system. So I think they'll come out running the ball pretty well there, and that'll open things up for the play action pass, similar to what we've seen last week. But it'd be a tougher task against this front seven. But I do think you can throw on this secondary if you can kind of get around how good the pass rush is of the Washington team here. So I think the Browns do enough here. But that is something to watch out for. That's why I think this one is more of a toss-up than people believe. Because that front seven Washington could be a factor. And then you look at the Washington side here. They've struggled to put together a full game on offense. I think that makes it tougher on their defense because both first halves, they've kept that defense on the field constantly because they're going 3 and out, maybe 6 and out. You're punting right away, and that puts the defense back on the field. So that makes it harder for the defense. So the defense actually might be better than it has seemed even, which is, it's wild. So if they put together a full game, this can be a scary team. You're playing a Browns defense that really I don't think is that great. They have some studs here and there. They are getting healthier, but I think you can move the ball on the Browns defense. So this is a big game for Dwayne Haskins. Can he do it? It's still hard to trust a full game being put together, but they can get kind of in a groove at one point, and that could be the difference as well. I do think Myles Garrett could have a big game in this one. I'm looking forward to Terry McLaurin versus Denzel Ward in this one. I think a really good young receiver versus a really good young corner. I got the Browns by 5. That should be another good one, I think. The Titans at the Vikings. I got the Titans winning this one. They are minus 2.5 in Minnesota. I got them winning by 10. I actually had this a little closer, making these graphics, first time around, but I shifted it back because I think the Titans are the much better team, especially right now, looking the way the Vikings are playing. I just look at the matchup. I think both teams can run extremely well. I look out for the Vikings to finally get the run game going, which has been going. They just had to kind of shut it down because they're down by so much, and running the ball, you don't get a whole bunch of chunk yards, and it runs the clock, so you can't really do that when you're down. But I do think that if the Vikings win, it's going to be because they really got their run game going, which I think right now it looks like you can run on the Titans, even though I think they'll have, at the end, when it's all said and done, I think they'll have a pretty good run defense. But can the Vikings keep up? That's kind of the question. They've been struggling. They're lacking in the interior on defense. They're lacking at corner. Now Anthony Barr's hurt. They're not getting a whole bunch of pass rush. Ngakoue could be big in this game. We saw first week he played about 50% snaps. They increased the snaps last week. He actually got a strip sack that the Colts actually recovered back, but maybe he gets going. He strip sacked Tannehill last year. Doesn't really mean a whole bunch, but maybe he can get going. But there really isn't enough here. I think Henry can run on them. Like I said, I think the worst interior defense line in football, and then I think Tannehill can throw on this group of guys. I think that is enough to make the Vikings try to play keep up, which it's very, very tough for them to do because making them one-dimensional is not ideal. I think I talked about Ngakoue can get going. I think Clowney and Harold Landry can really get going. Guys like Jeffrey Simmons, I think that whole group could really get going against this very weak offensive line. So it's going to be tough for the Vikings to keep up here. 31-21 is what I got. It does have some feelings of kind of a trap game because the Vikings, they have the talent. They've played very bad, and they have the talent, and now it's just about figuring out a better game plan, changing things up, making it so what the Titans watch on tape isn't going to be accurate, and if they do that, they can win this game. So that's why I say it's a little bit of a trap game for the Titans, but they're just playing simple better. The matchup favors them. 31-21 Titans, minus 2.5. This is a good one. This is a really good one here. Raiders, they're plus 6.5 at New England. I have them just falling in this game, 27-31. I am very impressed with the Raiders. I like this team a lot. Big Gruden guy. Very impressive game against the Saints. Last year I did very well picking, and that I think it was due if I had to guess. I think it's due because I play the matchup game a lot. It's hard to do it early in the year, but we're starting to figure out matchups, teams' identities. I believe, and it's still early, I believe the matchup really favors the Patriots, especially early in the season here, or especially at home, I should say, in this game. But the Raiders are playing really, really good football. I'm hyped on the Raiders, but I am also very impressed with Cam Newton in the Patriots offense. Why the matchup favors them? I think Cam will be able to run pretty well in this team. I think we'll see if James White plays. I really hope he plays. I think he can have a big game if he plays in this game. They're kind of it looks like they're getting N'Keal Harry going a little more. Edelman is really getting going. Seems like him and Cam have a connection. And I'm still a little, I like guys like Max Crosby. Maurice Hurst is playing pretty well. Jonathan Abram is a beast. I like some pieces they have there, but I still a little iffy, I guess is the right word, on the Raiders defense. I think the Patriots can move the ball, whether they're running or throwing. I think they'll be very unpredictable, and that can throw off the Raiders. The Raiders kind of made the Saints kind of one-dimensional there. Breeze really couldn't throw the ball downfield. I think there was the reason being a little bit's on him. There is some credit deserved to the Raiders defense, though. But I think the Patriots pushed the ball enough. I like the Raiders offense. Gruden making the adjustments, started off slow against the Saints. I don't think they can start off slow against the Patriots here. I don't think they really will. Darren Waller was a big factor against the Saints, and I think he'll be somewhat of a factor in this game, but not as much. I think Bill Belichick will have a pretty good game plan for him. I think the difference between the Patriots and the Saints and what could beat Derek Carr is secondary. I think the biggest difference there, I think you can beat the Saints corners. I don't really know if you can beat, you can, but a lot tougher to beat the secondary of the Patriots. I don't think pass rush it's weird because I think pass rush does make Carr, when he's under pressure, he's really a lot worse. I'm not going to say he's bad, but he's been playing great. But if he's under pressure, he's a lot worse than what we've been seeing So pass rush can be a factor, but it's really not because they get things going quick. Carr's doing a good job of getting the ball out early. So pass rush is really not a factor against the Raiders, in my opinion. I think it's just the best possible secondary can slow down their offense, and I think the Patriots could have a top 3 secondary here. So that could be a difference. I do think, as you can see, I do think the Raiders will move the ball still. I just think, most of the matchups I try to find, they happen to be sided with the home team here in the Patriots, so that's why I take them. But I am pretty hyped on the Raiders and the Patriots this year. Niners, Giants, tough one because the amount of injuries in general, because the Giants do have Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard, but the Niners have a ridiculous amount of injuries in big-time players, and now it sounds like Garoppolo, there's a chance he can play this week, but it sounds like it's likely Nick Mullins will get going in this one and be the starter. And I still got them winning. It's very tough. The Giants, we've seen their offense kind of get going pretty darn well in the first half against the Steelers. Maybe the only bad thing is they couldn't really punch the ball in the end zone some of the times, but they were able to move the ball. So maybe they can do the same thing against a beat-up Niners defense here because, it's doable. It's definitely doable. Niners are minus 4.5 at the Giants here. But, yeah, so I have it right in the ballpark there. But, yeah, I have the Niners taking care of business. I think when Nick Mullins, it's crazy because Garoppolo's definitely a good amount better than Nick Mullins, but I really don't think this offense is that much worse, really, with Nick Mullins. Almost the same thing. It almost relies on its play calling in the system, which is very unpredictable. So that's the key there. I think Jet McKinnon gets going in this game. I think McKinnon has a big game in this one. We've seen when David Montgomery, who's really not known for an in-space guy, when he got in space, he caused some problems for the Giants, and now we see a much better team around him and a much more, how do I say that? He fits that role a lot more, Jet McKinnon. I think he can have a big game there. So I think they do enough, and they make enough plays. I am worried about the Giants' offensive line right now as well. So I have the 49ers winning 24-20. This could be a toss-up, though, because of the injuries in this game. But do the Giants become one-dimensional without Saquon Barkley? That's the other downside of the Giants there. Next game, this could be somewhat of a shootout here, a high-scoring game. But I do have the Eagles taking care of business 31-28. I think all the matchups kind of favor the Eagles here at home. They've been losing because more than just Wentz, but Wentz has been really, really struggling. And he was only under a ton of pressure in that Week 1 game, not so much in Week 2. He's just got to pick it up. I think against this defense, he can pick it up. I think you can run on this defense. I think you can throw on this defense. So I think Wentz and Sanders kind of pick it up. I don't think he'll be under a ton of pressure. So there are really no excuses here. Wentz has to play well. I think he does in this game. And I think the Eagles can, on the opposite side, I think the Eagles can get enough pressure on Joe Burrow, but I think Joe Burrow still makes the plays. I think both teams can score on the opposing team's defense here. So that's why it'll be a more of a scoring battle. But the difference between the Eagles in the last 2 games, this game, I think Wentz gets going. That's the major difference. That means they get more offense going, and that will be the difference in this game, in my opinion. So they win, but only by 3, because I think kind of be back and forth a little bit. I think Eagles could be leading most of this game. But if Wentz struggles in this game and the Eagles lose in this one, we got problems. We got big problems. So this is one of those games where it's like if they win and kind of play the way they should be, it's like, okay, it's good to have a win, but that's what you should do. But if you lose and Wentz maybe struggles, it's disastrous. So that's one of these must-win games here for the Eagles, and it probably feels like a must-win for the Bengals, but they are a team of the future. There's really I don't know if there's really any panic time for a team like that, right now. But 0-2. And pretty close to maybe having 1 win. They were actually in the Browns game too. So maybe a must-win. It's a must-win for everybody every week. But the Eagles, for the reasons I explained, it feels like kind of a must-win there. Texans, Steelers. I got the Steelers taking care of business 24-20. It's Texans plus 3.5 at Steelers. So the line, once again, in the ballpark of my score line there, the differential. The Texans are better than their record shows. I think they'll be better down the stretch of the season. They'll make that playoff push. They're a pretty good team, I still think. But I have them falling short here. And there is one glaring matchup issue, and that is the Steelers' pass rush, which has been the best in football, even though they're second in sacks after Washington. I think the Steelers have been the best, and they've been elite. That pass rush versus the front 7, I'll say. That front 7 versus the Texans' offensive line. I still think they've been a little disappointing, but I still think the Texans' offensive line will get better as time comes. but it's not really good, looking good, getting beat up early by these types of pass rush. I think that'll be the factor. Deshaun Watson has been pressured more than every quarterback besides Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is finding ways. He might have a little more talent around him. So maybe this is the game where Watson kind of just finds ways. Steelers secondary is good. I think it's mainly that front seven, though. So what I'm trying to say, I think Watson can throw on this secondary. But it'll be tough with the pressure in his face. Steelers, very good team. I love this defense right now. The offense looks darn good at times. I want them to put a full game together. They second half got going against the Giants, and it was kind of the opposite. First half got going against the Broncos. Maybe they got a little conservative, but let the Broncos kind of back in the game with Jeff Driscoll. I wasn't really too worried at any point, but you can't really do that against the Texans. Giants, and then a beat-up Broncos team, and now you see the Texans. Much different teams. So that is the one maybe scary thing about picking the Steelers here. But, again, there's a glaring matchup situation there. I also think Big Ben can throw the ball pretty well in this game. But the Texans actually can bring – I expect them to use some more blitzes and bring the pressure there, and that could slow down the Steelers as well. But that big matchup reason is the difference. But keep in mind the Texans have played the two best teams in football, Chiefs and Ravens. Maybe they can turn things around here. So I wouldn't really be surprised if the Texans win, but I am picking the Steelers here, 24-20. Jets and Colts, maybe a little closer. Yeah, the line's 10.5, maybe a little closer here. I think Darnold can get a little, 20 points, not a lot. But I think he can get some things going here. They are pretty beat up. But now it's, I don't know if there's that much pressure anymore. It's just, let's just go out and play here. So I think they could get some things going here. Colts a little beat up. We see Malik Hooker out. In the Jets offense line, I think, has been playing, it's not been playing great or anything, but definitely much better than the past. So I don't know if the Colts get the pressure that they got on a team like the Vikings last week, but they definitely do enough here. I think they kind of, what I want them to do is come out throwing. You throw the ball, attack, get the points up on the board. They got to convert in the red zone better. By what unfolded in that game last week, they should have had like 50 points. So execute, and I think they will for the most part. Execute in the red zone better against the Jets. Come out throwing, then turn to the run, turn to Jonathan Taylor and Hines, Wilkins. So I think they do enough here. I think they'll be kind of comfortable throughout most of this game, but the Jets kind of just stick around here. For the most part. Colts can't turn the ball over. We know that in the back of our minds, if Rivers starts throwing picks or, if Taylor fumbles, that could bite them in any game. I think the Colts are kind of a team that it really doesn't matter who they play. They can beat about anybody and they can lose to about anybody. That's how I feel. I feel like Colts fans may be able to agree there. I think it's just kind of how they're feeling if they kind of limit the turnovers there. And it's too early to tell if we know or not if they're a turnover team. It's just we know that it's a possibility with the players they have. T.Y. Hilton's really got to pick it up. But, yeah, the Jets won't be able to get enough pressure in this game. I just don't think they'll have enough in this game. So I got the Colts kind of comfortable, but Jets kind of sticking around here, but still somewhat of an easy win here for the Colts, 27-20. And then we move on to Panthers at Chargers. Now, just coming out today, Justin Herbert will start. So that's interesting. I think it's a good thing, I think, because I want Herbert to start week 1, get him going. I think putting him in, having a pretty good game, even though he might have cost him at the end, I'm not really too worried. But putting him in and then having a pretty good game and then taking him out kind of could ruin his confidence. But it sounds like he's only starting because Tyrod's still hurt. That's pretty interesting, if that's the case. But, yeah, I think it wouldn't really matter against a team like the Chiefs. Yeah, Herbert I think is better. In this game, Tyrod, Justin Herbert. Honestly, Tyrod could have been a little better in this one because he has less turnover risk, I'd say. And I think he's just controlling the ball. I think the Panthers without McCaffrey. Chargers are probably the better team looking at both sides of the ball. Perhaps combining both sides of the ball. Maybe the Panthers are a little more explosive on offense, but just taking care of the ball and just playing better to win the game. So maybe Tyrod would be the better option, but I do like starting Herbert, and I still think they get the job done. I like the Chargers defense. I really wish it had Derwin James, but I think they get pressure here. Jerry Tillery's been sneaky good, I think. He's been getting some really good interior pressure. I think he'll be a factor. I think Bosa will be a factor. Bosa's been getting a ton of pressures. So, okay, Bosa's been playing good. He's leading the NFL in pressures, but that's my thing about pressure. It's a very good stat, and it's something I actually noticed. You kind of got to look at the stat, kind of got to watch in the field. He's beating his guy because of strength, power, but why is he getting all these pressures? And he has a good amount of sacks, but why is he getting all these pressures, maybe not sacks, is because, I think that, there's a lack of burst, after the line, maybe what I'm trying to say, quickness, athleticism to actually finish, use that speed and get to the quarterback and make that sack, but he's been destroying his guys off the line. So I need him to finish. I need him to get those sacks. I think he'd have a pretty big game in this one. It's tricky because the Chargers defense is good, but the Panthers offense is pretty good. They're pretty explosive. They can limit some turnovers. That can make them better, but they are missing McCaffrey. That could be the difference. Offensively, I think Josh Kelly and Eckler can have a pretty big game in this one. I like what I see from those guys, that duo. I got them taking care of business here. The Panthers may just have the worst defense in football, and that could show here. Not having McCaffrey can show. I'm okay with Teddy, though. I know he turned the ball over a little too much last week, but I'm okay with him. He's actually looking impressive to me because the question was, and I always liked Teddy, but the question was, is he just a premium game manager? A better than a game manager, but in the ballpark. And he's showing that I think he can be better than that. He's more than that, I should say. So, and he's still got to get his groove going. So, but then again, McCaffrey's out. So Panthers offense could be pretty sneaky good. So this should be a pretty good game. And McCaffrey was playing, I would definitely strongly consider the Panthers in this one. But I got the Chargers winning by 4. Bucs and Broncos. I just don't think the Broncos have enough on offense. No Drew Lock, no Cortland Sutton, no Phillip Lindsay. Offensive line's a little iffy. And, only scoring 13 points. Even thought about, that 10-13 range. Buccaneers defense, I try to tell people before the season, this defense is good. It's only going to get better. They'll get ridiculous pass rush in this game. Their secondary can make plays back there. So I think that'll mainly be the difference. I don't expect the Buccaneers to have crazy offense in this game. Enough, obviously. Broncos still got a pretty good defense despite some injuries. I think the Buccaneers defense kind of helps their offense in this game. The defense kind of wins the game here, as they should. 24-13. Buccaneers. I kind of like the Bortles pickup. People making a joke out of it, but I mean, it's not gonna make them worse or anything. It sounds like he's been working hard in the offseason. It sounds like he's ready to go. He's got a chip on his shoulder, so we'll see. And Jeff Driscoll's obviously going to start, but we'll see when Bortles comes in. I think it's only a matter of time, and I'm kind of in a way excited for that. So we'll see. Buccaneers -6. That's a little low, but at the same time, the Buccaneers offense has still looked sloppy at times. Still could be good, but looks sloppy at times. Maybe the Broncos defense keeps it close, and that'd be the reason. Maybe Vegas slapped that 6 on the Buccaneers there. So we'll see, but Buccaneers should handle business there. They should. Lions and Cardinals, I got a good old-fashioned shootout here. This game ended in a tie last year, and it could be that close again this year. I don't expect a tie. The Lions are +5.5 at Arizona. I got the Cardinals winning 34-30. This could go either way, though, folks. Like a lot of these games. I think, high-powered offense here. I think if Kenny Galladay plays like I think he should, I think you have a big game here. Look at Stafford, who has dropped the most balls this year. The Lions. That's hurting Stafford. His completion percentage, his play is actually better than his stats might show because of that. Even though that interception that Chan and Sullivan last week was all on Matthew Stafford. That was very bad. So we can't make mistakes like that. And they got to keep pushing the ball. I think they will be able to. I like where the Cardinals defense is heading. I think it's way better than last year. It's been impressive. I think Devon Kennard against his former team could step up. He's looked pretty good, getting help from Chandler Jones. I think they can make some plays to make the difference, but I still think Stafford, Galladay, this Lions team will push the ball, down the field here. The Cardinals, I think, will do the same thing. I still worry about the Lions defense. I keep talking about they're kind of like balanced. They don't have like a giant hole, like this guy's a problem, we got to replace this guy. They really don't have that, but they can get better pretty much anywhere. They don't get enough pass rush. You can run the ball on them. You can throw the ball downfield on them. Kyler Murray running could be a problem. Drake could be a problem. DeAndre Hopkins will be a problem. In Arizona, I just don't think the Lions have enough here. I think the Cardinals take care of business. And I think a deciding fact, like I said, offensive game, but the slight difference in these types of games which defense can make that extra play. And I always look at pass rush to that. I trust the Cardinals pass rush a little more. Chandler Jones, Devon Kennard against his former team. That could be the difference here. I got the Cardinals. Good start to them, but this could be a sneaky game. Lions could sneak up on them here. Cowboys and Seahawks, another really good one, an offensive battle here, and it's pretty similar to that game I just went over. I think an offensive game, maybe you can call them elite offenses. I think you can when they're fully. Remember, the Cowboys aren't fully healthy on offense. Tyron Smith out last week. Leo Collins out until after this week. He might even be out longer. So they're really not at full strength, and they're still putting up good numbers. Well, in week 2 they did. So 2 very good offenses. It'll be a shootout like the last game. But which defense can make that extra play that could be that difference? I'm going to go with the Seahawks there. I think Russ, Carson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, this group will have no problem really against this Cowboys defense. Their pass rush will get pressure, but they have to get to the quarterback and bring him down. Russell Wilson is so used to that pressure. He plays better than anybody under pressure. So that really won't be a factor. There's really nothing going for the Cowboys defense to be a factor in this game. I think having a really good secondary could be a factor. They really don't have that. Then you look at the Seahawks on defense, and they have guys like Jamal Adams that can make that extra play. And they do have some playmakers here and there, I think more than the Cowboys do, so they can make that extra play. That could be the difference. Cowboys got to take care of I'm not really too worried, but they got to take care of the ball a little better. 5 fumbles in no time last week. But I'm not really too worried about that. But the Seahawks have the ability to make those extra plays here. Keep in mind the Cowboys have some injuries on their offensive line. Dak not as good, pretty good under pressure, not as good as Russell Wilson. On top of that, he doesn't have his full strength offensive line. I don't expect a crazy amount of pressure still though on them. But that to argue towards the Cowboys, that could be the difference. The Falcons actually could bring. They got a couple edge rushers that actually can play, and they have Grady Jarrett on the inside that can get pressure, and maybe and Dak still move the ball on them. The Seahawks really don't have that pressure, so maybe Dak just balls out again and has that ridiculous game, and that is the difference. That very well could be the difference. The argument, the case for the Cowboys there. I think Seattle at home make those extra plays there, so I'm going to go with them 37-31. But it's going to be a really good game there. Cowboys are plus 4.5, the underdogs by 4.5 at Seattle there. Sunday Night Football, Rodgers versus Drew Brees, and that is really my difference in picking the Packers here. I think that one of those guys right now, we'll see what the future has for us, one of those guys is playing much, much better ball than the other, and that is Aaron Rodgers is playing that classic Aaron Rodgers. Drew Brees, it's weird because I'm not really worried. It's tough. It's tough to talk about because the Saints have lost games in week 1 or week 2, and they've picked it up. So in that sense, I'm not really worried, but I've never seen Drew Brees just look awkward. The ball didn't look like it was coming out right. So I'd be lying if I said I wasn't concerned, at least a little bit concerned. And the Raiders eliminated anything downfield. Not having Michael Thomas, key factor there, obviously, and they still won't have him here, I'm assuming. And the Packers secondary will eliminate that. But something that does beat the Packers is a good running back running the ball and in the passing game, and that's Kamara. So that could be the difference in this game. For sure, but I think the Packers are playing like the better team right now. I think Rodgers makes the extra play. It looks like you can throw the ball on this secondary of the Saints. Devontae Adams will be a big price. He does have a hamstring right now, so that is that's something to monitor. But he's going to play. It sounds very minor, but if he's coming in and out of the games because of this, that'll be bad. If I would know that beforehand, I may pick the Saints. But I think he'll be a factor. I talked about Kamara could be big in this game. How about Aaron Jones? Aaron Jones it's only 2 weeks, but might be the best running back in football through the 2 weeks. Running the ball and catching that ball out of the backfield and downfield. They might be the second best receiver on the field in this game. I'm going to say on the Packers, on the entire field, and that's Aaron Jones right now. That's ridiculous if that's the case. So I think that the Packers just have more factors going for them. Yeah, Brees has got to get the ball downfield. The small ball will work to a certain extent there. It'll work only for so long, and they're relying on that a bit too much right now. So I do have the Packers. More of an offensive game, pushing the ball. Like I said, all the key impact players on the offense side. But defense, I compare the secondaries. I trust the Packers secondary against Brees way more than the opposite there. But pass rush is a game-changing thing in pretty much any game. So if a team gets a way more pass rush than the other one, that could be the deciding factor. We saw that the Saints pass rush, which can be very, very solid with Cam Jordan and company, wasn't a factor in the Raiders game, and it really wasn't their fault. The Raiders were just getting the ball out so quick, and Rodgers has been getting the ball out pretty darn quick as well, except when he kind of rolls out to the right. Will guys like Cam Jordan eliminate that, that could be a factor. But Packers been getting the ball out so quick that, again, it might not be a factor. And then can the Smith bros get going for the Saints there? I think a key factor, we've seen Zadarius Smith rush from the inside a lot last year. I would strongly suggest, I think they'll do it, that the Packers do that. Have him rush from the inside because the outside protection is fantastic for the Saints. The inside, it's not bad at all, not really close to bad, but it's not their strength there. And we've seen Nick Easton go down but came back in, and same thing with Andrews Pete last week. They do have the depth in Cesar Ruiz there, but I'd say the Packers should attack that there. So I am going with the Packers. I'm going, the difference mainly is Rodgers versus Breeze here. But a good old Aaron Jones-Kamara battle is a good way to look at it as well. Who will come out the better running back? Could be either one there. So I'm very excited for that game as well. Packers are actually +3. It is a tough one. I see a lot of people picking the Saints for the one reason of I don't see the Saints losing 2 in a row. It is hard to see them lose 2 in a row, but that's really no way to pick. Even if the Saints win, that's not really why, because you didn't see them losing 2 in a row. That's no reason there. So I really disagree with that reasoning. I'm going with the Packers. It's in New Orleans. It's going to be a heck of a game, though. Monday night, top 2 teams in football, 1 and 2 on the power rankings. Winner will be number 1 after this week. We can all, I think, expect there. I got the Ravens. 30-27. I think the Ravens are playing like the best team in football right at this moment through 2 weeks, combining offense and defense. It's been outstanding. I think they make that extra play on defense. It's very hard to stop Mahomes. It's almost impossible. I think you could slow him down a little bit. Now they add, that running game factor. Edwards-Helaire could have a pretty big game, but I think this Ravens defense is that good. It's tough to play against these corners. It's tough to play against their disguised blitz packages. And that actually could, even though it's an offensive game, that could be the difference, that extra play made by the Ravens defense. Seen some guys shaking up a little bit on the Chiefs there, last week. The offensive line is, and Mahomes can make plays under pressure, but the offensive line really doesn't feel anywhere near as good as, and we do have, they have some guy, Duvernay Tardif, was out, or is opted out. So, so it is a little different there, but even Mitchell Schwartz really, I had him as the best tackle in football, but isn't playing like it right now, so that could be a factor as well. But I think both teams will be able to push the ball. I think you can run on the Chiefs. That being said, I think Lamar Jackson is able to run, and it's just so tough to game plan against that, because they can give it to Ingram or anybody, Dobbins, Edwards. They used Edwards quite a bit last week, felt like. Inside, Lamar can run mainly outside, but he can run in as well, and he can launch it downfield. So I think even though these Chiefs corners have been playing much better than expected, I think you can beat them. I think somebody can throw on them. Lamar Jackson, the man for the job, perhaps. So I think in being home here, I think they, those are the factors there. I think the Ravens take care of business, and it's going to be another one. A lot of really good games that I'm excited for this week. So I think that's the difference there. But it's tough going against the Chiefs, and that offense, how spread out. The Ravens defense has looked fantastic. It is fantastic. It's another challenge going against I think it's the main thing, how spread that offense is, the playmakers create there, because you got this guy, you got the receivers, Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, you got these guys, you got Travis Kelce who can dominate the middle field, Edwards-Helaire who can run inside, outside, can catch the ball in the backfield, downfield. It's just so spread out. How do you game plan for that? So that is a tough task for the Ravens defense, but I got them clutching up here just barely, but it's a toss-up game for sure. They are favored by 3.5. I'm actually surprised it's that much. Not that that's a lot, but I'm actually surprised that it's there. I thought it'd be a pick or the Ravens. I could see the Chiefs favored by 1. I could see the Ravens favored by 1. So it is 3.5. That's pretty interesting. But I got the Ravens take care of business. Definitely a toss-up game. Go either way. A lot of these games. This is a tough week to pick. Cannot wait to see what happens. One play can make a difference in pretty much any of these games. So I'm excited for this Sunday. This is the best week of the year so far. Hopefully you can join us for all of our other videos throughout the NFL year. We got you covered. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe, trying to reach 60K. Turn notifications on so you don't miss a thing. You're going to want to follow that Twitter. That is constant NFL action on there. Link in the description in the comments, as well as our Patreon with all that bonus content that's usually added Wednesday night, Thursday morning area there. But that is going to do it for this one. Thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye.